Hello there, everyone. My name is CM Freeze, and welcome to my final 2025 NFL mock draft. This mock draft will be what I truly believe the NFL draft will look like, and when it's all said and done, I'll be able to look back at this and see how many picks I got right. Now, nobody's ever perfect. In fact, I would be shocked if I even got 8 picks right in this NFL mock draft because teams do such a good job of hiding what they're going to do. And there's also a couple of teams that always just make boneheaded picks that just make you scratch your head and say, why would you do that? There's always a couple of losers in the first round, and it's not like you can really predict who's going to do that. Obviously, some teams are pretty common, such as the Raiders, but the Raiders have a new GM this year, new head coach. They're a completely different team from the old Raiders of the past. That getting said, when I get to each pick, I will also, depending on the pick, if I'm torn between a couple of players, go over those couple of players as well. So let's get into it. My final 2025 NFL mock draft, and this is what I do believe we will see on Thursday on draft night in the first round. Starting off with the first overall pick in the draft, this is pretty easily Cam Ward. This is the consensus number one pick right now. The Tennessee Titans have made it very clear that they're drafting Cam Ward. The Tennessee Titans had scheduled meetings with other prospects such as Travis Hunter, and they respectfully took away that invitation after they met with Cam Ward. Also, Cam Ward was playing Fortnite and said that his top 4 wide receivers in the NFL was Calvin Ridley and Treylon Burks. He's going to the Tennessee Titans. Everybody knows it. The draft really starts at pick 2 here, where for a very long time I have gone Abdul Carter with this pick, just because I believe that having Myles Garrett and Abdul Carter as your 2 edge rushers would just make for an incredibly great edge rushing duo, potentially maybe the best edge rushing duo in the NFL, because Myles Garrett is going to need 2 people on him at all times, making Abdul Carter basically always have a one-on-one in his rookie year. And I think that it could lead to absolutely great things. And if Abdul Carter starts giving you issues and you need to double team him, well, you can't do that because Myles Garrett's on the other end. However, it seems more and more likely that the Cleveland Browns are actually going to draft Travis Hunter. The Browns apparently really like Travis Hunter. And what's interesting, too, is they kind of like him at wide receiver. It seems like Travis Hunter is going to primarily play wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns. However, Travis Hunter came out and said that he'd rather not play football at all than not be allowed to be a two-way player. So you kind of just hope that Travis Hunter is just still a little immature, maybe still a little bit young. Obviously, there was a lot that went on with Travis Hunter off the field this year. Maybe not a lot, but we all know the stories about Travis Hunter. Hopefully, he will be okay with just playing wide receiver. But let's be real here. This isn't the first time the Cleveland Browns have drafted a player that has had some character concerns or some issues. If I was a GM and I had heard Travis Hunter say, I would rather not play football at all than not be a dual-way player, that's just not realistic. Travis Hunter played in college where you only play, 12 games a year in college? Now you got to go to the NFL and play 17 games plus maybe playoffs. So his workload's going to be much bigger. And he's not going up against college kids. He's going up against the NFL. He's not going to make it as a two-way player. If he does, that would just absolutely shock me. That would really shock me. But I think if he's going to the Cleveland Browns, it's to be a wide receiver, which personally I would still draft Abdul Carter in this situation. But I understand Travis Hunter just won the Heisman. He's still a great prospect. Top 3 prospect in this class alongside Abdul Carter. I think edge rusher is a more valuable position, but I do think the Browns are going to go Travis Hunter. Still a great player, and probably the second best player they could draft in this situation, only behind Abdul Carter. Now, the Giants here at pick 3, it seems like they are going to go Abdul Carter. I hate the fit for Abdul Carter to the New York Giants. The New York Giants already have Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns. And when you look at this team that has so many holes, their offensive line is garbage. They also still have Dexter Lawrence on that D line too. So their defensive line is what I would say is the best thing about the New York Giants because offensive line sucks. Outside of Malik Neighbors, their wide receiver room is incredibly lackluster. I couldn't even name you their tight end that they have. Their secondary's not good. This is a Giants team that has so many holes. And their defensive line, I would say, is their best positional group. And while Abdul Carter is a phenomenal player, going defensive line in this situation for the Giants, I just don't think it works out. If you're the New York Giants, I think players 1 and 2 on your draft board are probably Cam Ward and Travis Hunter. And in a world where they go 1 and 2, what do? This is a mock draft with no trades. I would say maybe trade down, but it does seem like the Giants are going to draft Abdul Carter. If you do that, you basically have to trade Kayvon Thibodeaux, or I guess you could just rotate the 3 off the edge of Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, and Kayvon Thibodeaux, and just when someone's tired, put the other guy in. Abdul Carter is the best player available on the board. Just if you're the Giants, honestly, I would maybe even consider taking Will Campbell in this pick. Armand Membou, it might be a little early. I am going to give Will Campbell to the Patriots here at pick 4, so it can't be that early. But I think the Giants should probably maybe consider offensive tackle, either, like I said, Campbell or Membou. If Cam Ward and Travis Hunter are off the board at 3, I really do think the Giants should consider tackle, either Campbell or Membou. I think that has much greater value for the New York Giants than Carter, but Carter is the best player available. Maybe you just take the top 3 prospect in this class and then just figure it out from there. I can understand that thought process as well. Now, this could be Shedeur Sanders. This really could be, but this Giants team is trying to win now. Brian Daboll and Joe Shiken for the New York Giants, their head coach and GM, probably should have been fired this year, but have been given another chance. So why draft a backup quarterback who you might not even see ever take a snap in the NFL if you need to produce results this season? That's just kind of my mindset at all of that. Then, like I said, Patriots 4 with Will Campbell. I think in a world where Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter's here, they easily take Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. But both are off the board. Your weakest position is offensive line. In free agency this year, the Patriots went out and got a lot of good free agents, especially to help on their defense. They got Stephon Diggs to be a weapon for Drake May. You need to upgrade the offensive line. Drake May was one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the NFL last year. The Patriots' offensive line is not good. You need to protect your quarterback. Will Campbell just feels like such a New England Patriots pick. I just love the fit so much with Will Campbell to the Patriots. I think this is a great pickup for him. Now, Jacksonville Jaguars here at 5. I'm going to go Mason Graham. I've seen a lot of people start to mock Ashton Jeanty to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Ashton Jeanty is not impossible at pick 5. I do see a world where it happens. But the Jacksonville Jaguars already have Travis Etienne, who's a serviceable running back. And when I look at the Jaguars, who already have Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen, who are both incredible double-digit sack guys who can get to the quarterback, and then you add Mason Graham, who's phenomenal in the running game. Mason Graham might be the safest pick in this entire draft class. He's already a pro-ready defensive tackle who is a big body, absolute mauler in the run game. So you have 2 guys off the edge who are able to get to the quarterback, and then you add Mason Graham, who can start immediately and help eat up blocks and win battles in the trenches and help with the run game too. Jaguars are cooking up maybe one of the best defensive lines in the NFL. And when you saw how good the defensive line for the Eagles was last year and how it basically was one of the main reasons why they won the Super Bowl, I just think this is kind of a no-brainer pick, and that Jacksonville Jaguars defensive line is going to be almost unstoppable. How are you going to be able to block all 3 of those guys in Trayvon Walker, Josh Allen, and then Mason Graham? Las Vegas Raiders here at pick 6. Ashton Jeanty just kind of seemed to be the pick. The Raiders GM, apparently his son came out and said that he was going to disown his father if he didn't draft Ashton Jeanty, which I think that was said in like a news clip or something. So I don't know why you would say that, like jokingly. It just seems like it's going to be Genty. Okay, it seems like it's going to be Genty. You look at Pete Carroll and the amazing running backs Pete Carroll has had under wraps. You know, you think about beast mode Marshawn Lynch, who ironically then went to the Raiders. Ashton Genty just seems like he's going to fall with the Las Vegas Raiders at this point. One of the top 3 draft prospects in this class, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Ashton Genty. I've said that so much, but they are truly the 3 best prospects in this class. Ashton Genty will be a great running back for the Las Vegas Raiders. New York Jets at pick 7. I am going to give them Tyler Warren. The New York Jets absolutely love Tyler Warren. It has been reported. I think at pick 7 here, it's either Tyler Warren or Armand Membu. It's one of those 2 players. I'm almost positive of it. Maybe a sleeper pick is Will Johnson, but I don't even really see it. It's either Tyler Warren or Armand Membu here at pick 7 for the New York Jets. Obviously, Membu would be your starting right tackle. The mindset is you just drafted Ole Fashanu last year, so you'll have Membu and Fashanu as your left tackle and right tackle, and just have your tackle position locked up, hopefully for the next 10 to 15 years, with drafting one in the first round last year, now one in the first round this year. Just having 2 young, big body mauler tackles that can protect whatever quarterback you have. However, with Tyler Warren is a more traditional tight end who can both catch and block. He does have blocking potential, obviously nowhere near the ability as Armand Membu, but also Tyler Warren is a big body target that can really help out with Justin Fields. You look at the New York Jets weapons, they have Garrett Wilson, Allen Lazard, I guess they still have 2 Breece Halls. But when I look at Justin Fields and you say you want to build around Justin Fields, I know just how much he loves his tight ends. Look at how good he was with Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet seemed to be the target that he had the most chemistry with there in Chicago. Justin Fields, like his tight end, you can have a big body tight end that can be a check down guy for Justin Fields when you know he's going to hold on to the ball for too long and just scramble for too long. Doesn't really matter if you have 2 great offensive tackles if Justin Fields, one of his worst traits is holding on to the ball for too long anyways, Give him a big body check down guy that I think can really help him out. Tyler Warren is a great player. One of those guys that you say is a very safe pick, just like Mason Graham, who it's very hard to see having a bad NFL career. Maybe not an elite NFL career, you don't really know how high his ceiling is, but he also has a high floor to boot. Very safe pick for the New York Jets here. Could be your tight end of the future for a very long time. Now, these next 2 picks are both pretty difficult for me. What are the Panthers and the Saints going to do? The Carolina Panthers have multiple options here. They could go Tetairoa McMillan here at pick number 8, a true number 1 wide receiver for Bryce Young. Yes, they have Adam Thielen. Yes, they drafted Xavier Legette last year. But with Tetairoa McMillan, he's a true number 1 wide receiver who can instantly come in and start and be a big-bodied target for Bryce Young. You look at the Panthers, they're saying, hey, we need to figure out what we have in Bryce Young. We have him for 3 more years. He's looked super hot and cold for the last 2 years. We need to figure out, is he the guy? What better way to do that than to give him a true number 1 wide receiver prospect in Tetairoa McMillan? This could also very easily be edge rusher. The Carolina Panthers traded away Brian Burns last year, and they don't really have the best defensive line outside of Derrick Brown. So Jalen Walker has been someone that's been linked heavily to the Carolina Panthers for his ability to blitz off the edge and also maybe drop back into coverage. Also Shamar Stewart, same exact reason. Well, I guess not. Shamar Stewart's a traditional edge rusher with freak athleticism, and he could also be in play here for the Carolina Panthers. Some other people that I've heard being in play for the Carolina Panthers here is Jaheed Barron at 22, and even Walter Nolan here as well. Reportedly, Walter Nolan is loved by the Carolina Panthers, and it just seems a little rich for my blood to draft Walter Nolan here. But a team, like I said, there's always a couple of teams that just make a couple of picks that make you scratch your head and say, dang, that was early, right? We always make these mock drafts of what the media and of what us outside influencers think of the NFL draft. There's always a couple of teams, though, that will go against the norm and will have players higher on their draft board. And the Carolina Panthers seem to love Walter Nolan. I think it's also reported, though, that the Carolina Panthers are trying to trade back. So maybe the Panthers are hoping someone will trade up and then they can draft Walter Nolan later in the draft, is what my thought process is. But if you're picking here at 8, do you really draft Walter Nolan here? I don't know. I really don't know. I could see this easily being Walter Nolan. Just it's hard for me to justify drafting someone who probably should be going, in the teens, not in the top 10, in the top 10. Which leaves me with, I think this, if they stick here at 8, I think it's either Jalen Walker or Tetairoa McMillan. It just depends what's more important to you. For me personally, I think it's see what you have with your quarterback of the future. Give him Tetairoa McMillan. See what you have with Bryce Young. Give him more weapons. Continue to develop around him and see if he's your guy or not. You need to see if he's the guy or not, right? You got 3 more years to figure it out. You want to hope that he can develop in that time frame too, right? And he can get even better. You got to give him a number 1 target. Saints here at 9. Man, this is tough. Is Derek Carr, how serious is this Derek Carr injury? Is Shedeur Sanders going to be the pick here at 9? Who knows about the health of Derek Carr? I would also say that Tetairoa McMillan would be in play if Tetairoa McMillan was here at 9. I really do. However, we also do know that Ryan Ramczyk just announced his retirement and is no longer playing for the Saints. Armand Membou is right here at pick 9 for the taking. And even though the Saints drafted Felice Uaga last year, and they have Cesar Release, they have pieces on that offensive line. Tackle is still a weaker position for them. I would say their interior offensive line is really good. They could use a right tackle, maybe even a left one too, depending on how you want to arrange your offensive line. The Saints are a team that I know love and value their offensive line, and especially when you still have Alvin Kamara under 2 years, maybe you just give him the best offensive line possible. Or if you're the Saints and you say, okay, maybe this Derek Carr injury is serious. We're going to start Spencer Rattler all year and tank and go 2-15 and get Arch next year. If that's the plan, well then won't you want a really good offensive line to protect Arch? I know I'm thinking way in the future here, but Armand Membou is potentially even the best tackle in the class, and if the Saints have him as tackle 1 on their board and they can get him here at pick 9 to replace Ryan Ramczyk, I think you kind of have to do it. The Saints have always valued winning now and having a very good offensive line. The Saints' offensive line will be really good and reloaded with Armand Membou there. Chicago Bears here at pick 10 are probably pretty pissed off that Membou and Campbell are both off the board. I think if either of them are here at pick 10, they immediately go that way, but they are not. So if that's the case, I think that Jalen Walker will be the pick for the Chicago Bears. They still could use edge rusher help. They could use a partner for Montez Sweat. And also what I like about Jalen Walker is he can also drop back into coverage too if the Bears decide that they want to switch things up a bit and run, either a QB spy or have someone who's off the edge drop back into coverage for a unique style of play. It just gives their defense more options. And the 49ers here at 11. So this could easily be a spot where Walter Nolan goes, and like I said, I had difficulty picking him at 8 with the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers did have Derek Brown. The San Francisco 49ers, their defensive tackle group is crap, and they do not have a Derek Brown on their defensive line. But I could also easily see this being Will Johnson as well. The 49ers have always been a team that have had a really good corner 1 on their defense, and they just lost Tre'Davious Ward. Their cornerback group has been shot as well. This is a 49ers team whose defense just got kind of obliterated in the draft, or obliterated in the offseason due to cap constraints. And with this draft class in specific, this draft class is known for having really good trenches. Defensive line and offensive line are the 2 big pluses of this draft class. Those are the 2 positions where you can get some really good players later down the board, round 2, round 3. You are not going to find a player like Will Johnson in this draft class in the second round with the amount of upside that comes with Will Johnson. Will Johnson's upside is incredibly huge. He played phenomenal in 2023, and then this year he got a little hurt. The Michigan team just wasn't as good. I think Will Johnson does have corner one potential, and he can play on the boundary. He can be phenomenal for the San Francisco 49ers. Who knows if he fills the role of Tre'Davious Ward right away, but if you're the 49ers, you hope that he can develop into something like that. Then the Dallas Cowboys here at pick 12. Apparently Matthew Golden has been the really hot pick here for the Dallas Cowboys. However, when I look at this team, when I look at this Dallas Cowboys team, I don't think wide receiver 2 is their biggest issue. They already have CeeDee Lamb. They traded for Jonathan Mingo last year. They have Jalen Tolbert. You could easily get a good wide receiver in the second round. I mean, this is a team that I think you need to get a right guard now. Zach Martin just retired. How much do you like Steele at right tackle? Also, the secondary for the Dallas Cowboys isn't the best secondary in the world either. Me personally, I would draft Kelvin Banks here if I'm the Dallas Cowboys. You know, you still get your Texas guy, who you could either play at right tackle or right guard, depending on whichever position you think he's better in. However, this is the Dallas Cowboys we're talking about, and they probably want to get the media talking about them, so they're definitely going to draft Matthew Golden. Let's be real here. I think that they should draft Kelvin Banks, but they're probably going to draft Matthew Golden. He will be a really good wide receiver, too, to CeeDee Lamb. And CeeDee Lamb, Matthew Golden, and Jake Ferguson would actually be a really good 1-2-3 combination for the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott. Now, Dak Prescott needs to get protected, obviously, so do the Dallas Cowboys go offensive line in the second round? Probably. Dallas Cowboys make a splash pick. They go get Matthew Golden, keep him in Texas. Like I said, I think Kelvin Banks Jr. would be the safer play, but the Dallas Cowboys we're talking about, right? And that means that just Kelvin Banks Jr. is going to go to the Miami Dolphins. They just had, what was it, Terrence Armstead, the really good left tackle for the Miami Dolphins, just retired. Their offensive line is obliterated and terrible. Kelvin Banks Jr. is the best tackle on the board. Some people even have him as the best tackle in this draft class. I think this is kind of a no-brainer pick. Miami Dolphins offensive line is terrible. Take the best offensive lineman on the board. Then the Indianapolis Colts here at pick 14. This could easily be Colston Loveton, but I know a lot of people say that this is pretty high for Colston Loveton. I think this could also be an edge as well. I wouldn't be surprised if Mike Green or Shamar Stewart's in play. You know how much the Colts love to draft athletic freaks. And because of that, I actually am going to go with Jaheed Campbell here for the Colts at pick 14. The Colts could use both another edge rusher and a linebacker. So why not get yourself a linebacker who's been converted, or an edge rusher who's been converted into a linebacker? Jaheed Campbell can do both. He's played linebacker, he's played edge rusher. He has freak athleticism. He's a sideline to sideline kind of speed kind of player who can track down a play from anywhere on the field. Like I said, athletic freak, and we know how much Chris Ballard and the Colts love athleticism and players that do really good at the combine. They got to see Jaheed Campbell's athleticism and speed up close and personal. He's just a player that you can put on that defense that can help either as just a drop back, weak kind of linebacker kind of guy, or he can be a Mike Blitz linebacker and get to the quarterback if he wants. They still have Kwity Paye, they still have Laiatu Latu, they still have DeForest Buckner, but it doesn't hurt to have more guys rushing the quarterback. You know, if you ever have 5 or 6 guys rushing the quarterback, you can play him as a more traditional linebacker, but if you ever send a blitz, guess what? He'll know how to blitz the quarterback effectively. Which leaves the Atlanta Falcons here at pick 15, where I think a lot of signs are pointing to Mike Green here for the Atlanta Falcons. They've been doing their due diligence on the edge rushers, though. They have met with Shamar Stewart. They have met with James Pierce Jr. They've met with Malik Williams. You know, they've met with all of the top edge rushers in this class. You know, they've met with Jalen Walker. This truly does feel like it is going to be an edge rusher for the Atlanta Falcons. Maybe they do go Malik Williams and keep the Georgia Bulldog in Georgia and they just brought in Leonard Floyd to a 1-year deal, or have Leonard Floyd teach Malik Williams for a year. But this just seems like it's going to be a defensive lineman. I believe the top defensive lineman on the Atlanta Falcons board is Mike Green. It's just the more and more the draft process goes on, the more and more smoke there is that Mike Green's going to the Falcons, and when there's smoke, there's fire. Famous saying, Mike Green to the Atlanta Falcons at pick 15, which means Arizona Cardinals here at pick 16. I think that this is where either Derek Harmon or Walter Nolen gets taken. If you are the Arizona Cardinals, you just brought in Calais Campbell on a 1-year contract to probably finish out his career in Arizona. What best to give him a defensive tackle that can learn under him for an entire year, doesn't have to play, and then can take the reins next year in year 2. When I think that Derek Harmon might be a better player now, but when you look at potential, Walter Nolen has better potential for the Arizona Cardinals. And when you have him learn behind a guy such as Calais Campbell and put him with a Walter Payton Man of the Year to hopefully maybe squash any character concerns that you have with Walter Nolen, I think that he'll be phenomenal for that Arizona Cardinals team. He doesn't have to really play that much in year 1, because Calais Campbell is going to be there. And then he can be your starting defensive tackle in year 2 with the whole year of experience under his belt. I really, really like Walter Nolen to the Arizona Cardinals. I think it's a great fit for them. Cincinnati Bengals here at pick 17. This could be multiple things, Their defense was really bad last year, so I do think that this is defense. I don't know if there's an offensive lineman you would take here. Maybe Tyler Booker if you want to go offensive line, but they re-signed Jamar Chase and they re-signed T. Higgins in free agency. Or I guess they gave Jamar Chase a contract extension, and I guess it's technically the same with T. Higgins. They're going all in on their offense. They need to improve their defense. So it's just who's the best defender on the Bengals board. I think Derek Harmon could be an excellent pick for the Bengals. I think Malachi Starks could be an excellent pick for the Bengals. I think Jaheed Barron could be an excellent pick for the Bengals. There's a lot of great defenders here that the Bengals could go for. James Pierce Jr. would be great for them. Maybe even Malik Williams. Who knows what's happening with Trey Hendrickson, But I will go ahead and... Who do I think's the best player on this board right now for the Bengals? Man, it could be so many players here. It really could be. I mean, James Pierce Jr. just has crazy high upside and potential. Shamar Stewart has crazy high athleticism. Who knows what you're going to get there with him. Derek Harmon's just the best defensive tackle on the board and just a really safe pick. Malik Williams played a little hurt this year. I'm going to try to tap into the mind of the Cincinnati Bengals and see what they would do in this situation. I figured it out. It's Malik Williams. Don't ask me why. I just know. It's Malik Williams. Which then leaves the Seattle Seahawks here at pick 18, where I'm going to give him Gray Zabel. Gray Zabel was a center for North Dakota State, and when you look at the Seattle Seahawks team who needs interior offensive line, you go ahead and get Gray Zabel. He can either play at center or maybe even move him to guard if that's what you prefer as well. But he has the capability of playing center, which the Seahawks need to upgrade everywhere on that interior of their offensive line. Not really too much to think about there. The Seattle Seahawks now bringing in Sam Darnold, bringing in Cooper Kupp, revamped offense. Get yourself a potential center or guard pick with the Gray Zabel. And then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here at 19, I usually always give him Jaheed Campbell, but Jaheed Campbell has gone early for me. So now that leaves the question of what does the Tampa Bay Buccaneers do? And I think you just go ahead and draft Jaheed Barron. Jaheed Barron is an excellent slot corner. A great comparison to him that a lot of people say is Brian Branch, which I agree with. Some people also say that he can be a corner one. We'll see what happens. But Jaheed Barron, I know, is loved by the league a lot. Jaheed Campbell isn't here, so go ahead and get Jaheed Barron. Now, the Denver Broncos here at pick 20, I've actually seen a lot of talk about this being Amarion Hampton. I really have been. But I think that this is going to be an offensive weapon, right? I could also very easily see this being Colston Loveston here. I could also very easily see this being Ike Mekwonu or Luther Bader here if you want speed. Bo Nix does have a little bit of an arm, and Luther Bader, I think, brings great speed here to this Denver Broncos team. So just what is this going to be? Is this going to be Luther Bader? Is this going to be Omarion Hampton? Is this going to be Colston Loveson? You just got to think, what does Sean Payton want with Bo Nix? And when I think about that, I do think that this is going to be Omarion Hampton. Again, with no trades, this mock draft is tough. You know, it really is hard with no trades. I am going to go Shedeur Sanders here at 21 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think in real life what's going to happen if the Giants don't take Shedeur Sanders and if the Saints don't take Shedeur Sanders at 3 or at 9, I do think a team's going to trade up for Shedeur Sanders. I really do. It's just kind of hard where that's going to happen. Obviously, there's no trades in this mock draft, so I have to give Shedeur Sanders here to the Steelers at 21, where he's going to fall out of the first round completely, which I highly, highly doubt is going to happen. Like I said, I could see the Browns even trading up for Shedeur Sanders to pair Travis Hunter with Shedeur Sanders. I could see that happening. I could even see maybe the Giants trading back into the first round as well. I do think a team trades back into the first round for Shedeur Sanders. I really believe that's what's going to happen if he slips out of the top 10. A mock draft for no trades, though. Here he is, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Who knows what's happening with Aaron Rodgers? You currently don't even have a quarterback on your damn roster. Shedeur Sanders is someone that can start right away for you. And Shedeur Sanders came out and said publicly that his favorite team that he's met with was the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin. Chargers here at 22, I'm going to give him Colston Loveson. I think that this also very easily could be Derek Brown. I think that this also very easily could be Kenneth Grant, you know, obviously the Michigan connection there with John Harbaugh. But Colston Loveson is a really good tight end prospect. The Chargers don't have a tight end. You need to get more weapons for Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert needs help. They already have a really good offensive line in Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater. They have some weapons at wide receiver and Ladd McConkey. They brought back Mike Williams, so we'll see how that happens and what goes on there. There is still Quentin Johnson on the team, but you know how much he likes to drop the ball. You need to give Justin Herbert help. We all have seen the games the Chargers have lost. The biggest reason why they lose is Justin Herbert does not have help. You give him Colston Loveson, who Harbaugh knows how to use properly. In 2023, Colston Loveson was Michigan's #1 threat. Harbaugh leaves in 2024. Colston Loveson didn't do that good. As good as 2023. He still did good. Harbaugh knows how to use this kid. I think he's going to work. He's going to be great with Justin Herbert. And then the Green Bay Packers here at 23. Me personally, I think that this is either James Pierce Jr. or Derek Harmon for the Green Bay Packers. Their defensive line needs a little bit of an upgrade. And I think that Derek Harmon is just such a good player. And I think he'll work very good with the Green Bay Packers and what they currently have there. They still do have Kenny Clark. They still do have a couple of other edge rushers and Rashawn Gary. You just need to upgrade that defensive line all around and take the best defensive lineman available. Like I said, this could be James Pierce Jr. as well, but I just like Derek Harmon. And then the Minnesota Vikings here at pick 24, I think you easily take Malachi Starks here in this situation. A true free safety, really, really good traditional safety. And with the Minnesota Vikings, who already was lacking in safety and then lost Cameron Byram in free agency, you need safety help bad. Malachi Starks could easily be someone that is drafted in the teens range, and he slips to you at 24. I think this is an easy no-brainer pickup for the Minnesota Vikings. And then the Houston Texans here at pick 25, their offensive line is obliterated. I think this is easily Tyler Booker or Josh Simmons. It's just, what offensive lineman do you think's better? Is there another one that could go here? Possibly. You know, there's other offensive linemen like Josh Conley Jr. down the board that this could be. But would you rather go with the offensive tackle prospect and Josh Simmons, who is battling injury concerns, or Tyler Booker, who is a guard, but a really damn good guard as well? It's either one of these two. I think with how bad your offensive line is, you need to go for the safer pick that you don't have to worry about being hurt this year, especially when you just don't want CJ Stroud getting injured. I'm going to give him Tyler Booker. Yes, he is a guard. However, he doesn't have injury concerns right now, and he's someone that you know can start day one, not have to worry about rehabbing any injuries. I know Josh Simmons is coming off an injury, and he's going to be fine for the start of the season, but I just like the safer pick here for the Houston Texans at 25. And with that being said, here at pick 26, I believe the Los Angeles Rams are going to go with a corner here in this situation. I could also see him going Josh Simmons here, upgrading their offensive line. But I'm going to give him a corner, and personally, for me, I think Javon Reevil is a great pickup for the Los Angeles Rams. He, again, is someone that is battling injury concerns, but he was so damn good in 2023, looked really good for the couple of games he was able to play in 2024. He's already publicly came out and said, I'm going to be ready for the start of the regular season in the NFL. I think the Rams are a team that has such a good defensive line that they're able to take their time with Javon Reevil. Doesn't need to start right away for him, but I just think he's going to be really damn good for the Los Angeles Rams and upgrade that secondary. Now, the Baltimore Ravens here at 27 is a pretty tough pick for me just because of how good this team is. You don't really know where the holes are. They could use another offensive lineman. You can always use offensive line. So if that's the case, we could give him Josh Simmons. But maybe the Ravens do want to upgrade their defensive line some more, where Shamar Stewart's still on the board, James Pierce Jr. is still on the board, Tyreek Williams is still on the board, Kenneth Grant is still on the board. I think corner is also in play too, but Javon Reevil did just go off the board. So are you going to go down the board a little bit for a corner? There's Benjamin Morris that's still here. Maybe Trey Amos is still here too. It's really tough. Picks, 25 down are just really tough because it could truly be any of these players. It could really be any of these players, even going to pick, 60 here. It's just tough to see. It's just tough to know how high some teams have some players on their draft board. And just knowing with what the Ravens like to do, I think they could use help maybe in their interior of their defensive line. And I'm going to give them Kenneth Grant here. Kenneth Grant is a traditional nose tackle. I think he'll work great in the Ravens' three-form defensive scheme that they play. You can never use enough interior defensive linemen. And with how dominant defensive line was last year in the NFL, I think you got to adapt or die. Continue to upgrade your defensive line. The Ravens have always been a defensive-minded team. Get yourself Kenneth Grant, who can just be a big body in the middle there. Lions here at pick 28, I think that this is either Shamar Stewart or James Pierce Jr. You need to get a partner with Aiden Hutchinson, so it's just who do you prefer? Do you want Shamar Stewart? Do you want James Pierce Jr.? James Pierce Jr. is a more traditional edge rusher who has actually put results on the field. James Pierce Jr. gets sacks. Shamar Stewart has crazy athleticism, but he hasn't gotten the sacks to accommodate that. And Shamar Stewart says, well, that's because that's not my job. My job's been to set the edge, and Nick Scaronton's job was to get the sacks, right? So maybe if you already have Aiden Hutchinson, Shamar Stewart would be a great complement to Aiden Hutchinson, right? Or do you want two guys that are both blitzing the quarterback? It's just really tough. I think that this is either Shamar Stewart or James Pierce Jr. here. I personally like James Pierce Jr. more. I do. I like that he actually has proven that he can get to the quarterback. So I'm going to go James Pierce Jr. Which means that Shamar Stewart is then going to go to the Washington Commanders. Dan Quinn loves his developmental edge rusher prospects. You look at Vic Beasley, you look at Takk McKinley. I know how much Dan Quinn loves to draft those edge rushers that he can develop into whatever he wants. Shamar Stewart is one of those, is a player that fits that mold perfectly to me. He's got crazy freak athleticism. Dan Quinn's going to love that. I'm sure that Dan Quinn is thrilled that Shamar Stewart has fallen to him here at pick 29. Which leaves the Buffalo Bills here at pick 30. Where these last three picks are going to be tough for me. Because like I said, this can be so many things here for the Buffalo Bills. They did just sign Tre'Davious White to a one-year contract. But I still think that defense is a very important position here for the Buffalo Bills. We know just how damn good that offense is, but that defense was pretty bad at times. I am going to give him another corner in Benjamin Morris. You just need to upgrade the defense. I don't really think the Buffalo Bills need safety that much. You just need to upgrade the defense. Benjamin Morris might be the best defender on the board for the Buffalo Bills. Then the Kansas City Chiefs here at 31. I know that they really love Josh Simmons. I think Josh Simmons, they would be thrilled if Josh Simmons fell to them at pick 31 here. Like I said, he is still battling some injury concerns, but he says he's going to be ready for week 1. I think the Chiefs believe in that too. I know they really love Josh Simmons from all the reports. He's going to be a great fit there in Kansas City. Then Eagles at 32. This could really be anything. This could truly be anything for the Eagles. Obviously, when they won the Super Bowl, they looked so dominant when they did so. We'll just give them an edge rusher. You know, their defensive line did take a little bit of a hit this year. They lost Josh Sweat. I know they lost another defensive tackle too. He went to the Patriots. You need to reload that defensive line with young talent. You already got the defensive tackles for it in Jalen Carter and that other good defensive tackle that they have that I'm blanking on his name. So we'll give him the guy from Boston College here, Donovan. And here we go. Here's my mock draft. So we'll see how this is after the NFL draft. We will see how close I was. Like I said, my goal is to get 8 right. Also, I am going to be making a mock draft with trades, which will come out on Wednesday. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. As always, please leave comments down below. Tell me if you agree or disagree with my mock draft, and peace out.